Isolation breeds things that are better left unfound. In 1993, a young man was ordained as a monk at a remote forest temple in rural Thailand. It was a decaying complex of 14 wooden rooms built in a straight line, deep in the woods, far from the nearest village. On his first evening, walking back to the temple grounds alone in the twilight, he saw a woman. She was sitting with her back turned, resting under a massive, ancient Bodhi tree right outside the temple gates. She wore a faded, dirty, long-sleeved shirt and a traditional sarong. The monk, concerned about the approaching dark, called out to her, "You shouldn't be here, it's getting dark. There are snakes in the grass." The woman didn't move. She didn't speak. He took a few steps closer and warned her again. "If you can't walk, I will go get the temple boys to help you home." This time, a voice replied, but it didn't sound like a normal woman. It was a low, guttural growl. "I told you, I am not going." Then, she turned to look at him, but her body didn't move. Only her head twisted around. It snapped a full 180 degrees backward, resting over her spine, staring dead at him in the moonlight. The monk didn't say another word. He ran to his room, locked the wooden door, and refused to leave until morning. A few days later, the monk's young nephew came to stay with him at the temple to keep him company. They stayed in room 30, near the very end of the long wooden building. Because the temple was so poor, the monks relied heavily on donated dry goods. The uncle had a stash of sweetened condensed milk cans near his bed, but the cans started disappearing. One by one, the heavy steel cans of milk vanished in the middle of the night. The uncle blamed the young boy, accusing him of sneaking the milk while he slept. The boys swore he hadn't touched them. There were no thieves in the forest. There were only 3 monks in the entire compound. Someone, or something, was taking the milk. But for what? The temple was strictly governed by routine. Every evening at dusk, someone had to climb the 3-story wooden tower to ring the main bell. One evening, the uncle took the boy up to the tower to help him. The boy struck the heavy wooden log against the bell. The deep sound vibrated through their chests. As the boy was finishing the final strikes, he looked out over the railing toward the western edge of the forest. There were 2 tall sugar palm trees standing against the dying light. But on this particular evening, there was a 3rd tree. The boy pointed it out. The uncle squinted into the dark. It wasn't a tree. It was a towering, pitch-black silhouette, easily 30 feet tall. It was unnaturally thin, and it was swaying back and forth in perfect rhythm with the ringing of the bell. Its posture was hunched, its long, shadowy arms dangling toward the ground. They didn't finish ringing the bell. They scrambled down the wooden stairs, nearly breaking their legs in the dark, and locked themselves in room 13. The uncle eventually left the monkhood, but the curse of the temple wasn't finished with their family. Years later, the young boy grew up, driven by tradition. He returned to the very same temple to be ordained. The temple was nearly abandoned now. Only the elderly abbot remained, and the new monk was assigned his uncle's old quarters, room 13. The nights were agonizing. Often, he would hear a voice drifting on the cold wind. It sounded like a baby, crying out weakly in the dark. "Mommy." One night, the new monk had severe food poisoning. The bathroom was terrifying. A dilapidated wooden shack built on stilts over a black, stagnant pond, nearly 200 meters away from the rooms. He was too afraid to go alone. He woke his young nephew, who had come to visit, and forced the boy to stand guard on the wooden bridge. To feel safe, the monk tied a long piece of plastic string to the boy's wrist. He took the other end into the bathroom. While inside, he tugged the string. The boy tugged back. A minute later, he tugged again. The boy responded, but on the third tug, the string went completely stiff. It didn't pull back. It felt like someone on the other end was gripping it with immense, rigid strength. The monk called out to his nephew. No answer. He rushed out of the bathroom. His nephew wasn't holding the string. He was fast asleep on the wooden bridge, 20 feet away. The string had been untied from the boy's wrist and tied tightly around a thick wooden post near the edge of the black water. The next morning, the terrified monk begged the abbot for answers. Why was this place so heavy with the dead? The abbot finally told him the truth. Over a decade ago, a local woman died of a broken heart. She was heavily pregnant. The man she loved had abandoned her, and she withered away until her body gave out. But the baby inside her was still perfectly intact. According to ancient laws, a woman who dies in childbirth is the most volatile, powerful spirit in the occult world. She was buried in the temple's graveyard to wait for her relatives. But in the dead of night, a black magic practitioner dug up her grave. They cut open her stomach and stole the unborn fetus to create a cumin thumb, a dark talisman of wealth. When her spirit woke up, her child was gone. She has been trapped in the temple grounds ever since, wandering the darkness, desperately searching for the baby that was stolen from her womb, and those missing cans of condensed milk from room 13, all those years ago. The abbot had found them. They were lined up perfectly on the highest ridge of the temple's roof, a place no human could reach. Every single can had been punctured and sucked completely dry. She was stealing the milk, taking it to the highest point she could find, hoping to hear her baby cry. Before the monk left the temple forever, he noticed something strange in the abbot's room. The abbot's walls and ceiling were completely covered in protective spells drawn in red ink, and sitting on his desk was a wooden whisk, the kind monks used to swat away flies. But the bristles weren't made of synthetic fibers or animal tail. They were made of long, coarse, human hair. The monk asked the abbot where he got the hair. The abbot looked at him with tired eyes. He said, "One night, I was trying to sleep. A fly kept brushing against my face. I swatted it away, but it kept coming back. When I finally opened my eyes, the mother was hanging upside down from the ceiling. Her face was inches from mine. It was her hair brushing against my cheeks. So, I grabbed a knife, and I cut it off." If you ever find yourself walking near an abandoned forest temple, and you hear a baby crying in the wind, do not look up.